Hello, I'm Wayne Utterback, Director of Communications and Digital Content here at the Illinois Association of Park Districts. And this is our most recent episode of the Parkcast. And today I'm being joined by Director of Recreation, Dave Herman at the Lockport Township Park District to talk about one of their special events they put on every year, Military History Weekend. So thank you so much for sitting and talking with me a little bit. And Dave, can you just kind of maybe start with a little bit about what this event is and how did it get started and go from there?
Well, this has a lot of history behind this event. Actually, probably about 25 years ago, it started as Civil War Days. And about 11 years ago, we changed it to just focusing on World War II days, knowing the fact that we were losing a lot of World War II veterans at that time, and we wanted to acknowledge them and tell their story. Obviously, we've been losing them every year. So as we had more veterans and things, we kind of opened it up this past year, last year, to turn it into Military History Weekend and just kind of tell the story of all of the military eras as far as, Civil War days, Vietnam, World War II. So that's kind of where we're at now. It's kind of basically a military history weekend, and we kind of feature different battles from each of those eras. So that's kind of it. So this event's been around, it's been modified over the years, but this is where we're at this stage right now is Military History Weekend. And it's always the weekend after Labor Day. It's always been that weekend for this amount of time. So it's September 10th and 11th this year, always in Delwood Park.
All right. Now, you mentioned the different eras that you cover. How important is that to kind of get that spread of history? Do you feel like it makes the broader sort of coverage makes it maybe even more appealing for people to come over?
You know what's neat about it, when we had a lot more World War II veterans with us, we have a veteran hospitality tent that we do over the weekend, that we have a couple sponsors, Dot Foods and our local VFW. So we basically feed them a free breakfast and lunch for any veteran over the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. And it's kind of a place for the veterans to gather. So it's kind of neat to see, our current veterans coming back from whether Iraq or, where they're at now, talking and discussing with Korean veterans to World War II veterans, and just the stories that they share and how everyone looks up to each other and respects everyone. It's kind of a nice gathering a place for all of the veterans. We really try to promote this as the history of and really respecting and honoring our veterans that are with us.
Now, speaking of the veterans, what has the response been to the event? How have they responded?
It's awesome. It's they love, like our recent veterans to, talking to Korean or World War II veterans. They love to hear the stories, and it's a mutual respect. And like I said, we have a huge response for that. And even, the general public comes in and, thanks the veterans, and it's really kind of neat to see.
Now, you mentioned it's been going on for about 25 years. Is that correct?
I would say we're probably, when we initially started Civil War Days, pretty close to that 25, 27 years. Yes. Yeah.
All right. And I guess just in terms of people coming to the event, how has it changed over the years? Have you seen an exponential growth in people coming to the event?
We did. When we changed it from Civil War Days to World War II days, Civil War Days at that time, there was a lot of reenactments with that, and it was kind of an older population. So that's why we kind of transitioned to World War II days, and knowing that we didn't have too many World War II veterans with us. But now we're at the point that we have about 400 to 500 reenactors that come throughout the Midwest. They know the weekend, and they're not paid actors. They come out and they volunteer. We provide them a meal on Saturday evening, firewood, and basically a campsite, and they camp from Thursday all the way till Sunday. And they know this event, and they look forward to it. It's in Delwood Park, which is kind of like a very unique park. It's got a lot of different terrain to it. It's almost kind of more like a Starved Rock Park. So it's got a lot of history in that park as well. So it's like the perfect setting to reenact with, ravines running through it. So the battles and some of the skirmishes that we do around the ravines and creeks and everything are as close as realistic as we can get it, I guess. Never going to be the real same thing. And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll honor, like last year we had a Vietnam veteran that came out. We honored him, and he actually told us his story of a battle that he was in. And he's like, boy, there's a part in your park that kind of reminds me of it. And he was just kind of going back to that story. And we actually reenacted how he lost men in his unit. And it was very emotional for him. And he told the story about it to the public while we were doing it. So it was really, it was pretty neat to see. The other thing that we do too is, we add a lot of pyrotechnics to it. So it's not just, so all the battles this year will have pyrotechnics to it. So we do a big like firebomb at the end of one of the World War II shows. But some of the artillery and these folks that come in, they're bringing tanks, half tracks, Jeeps, motorcycles. I mean, some of their stuff that they bring out should be in a museum. It's worth a lot of money, and the folks walking around the park, just it's almost like a military history, car show as well, with the amount of vehicles and tanks and half tracks and Jeeps and things that we have in the park, because they restored them all to the what they were. So.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the reenactors. Is it a challenge to have so many people involved in an event, and how do you navigate that and make sure everything moves smoothly? Do you have to have like point people for each of the eras of the reenactments, or how does that all work?
Yeah, we have a military history weekend committee. So we have committee members that represent each era, and they kind of focus on their group and where they're stationed and set up. Yes, our event is on Saturday and Sunday, so a lot of the guys come in on Friday. Friday is kind of mass chaos as you're trying to get 400 people to get stationed in the right spot. We have kind of a safety and authenticity meeting every morning with all of the reenactors, just to kind of go over the safety of everything, how the pyro is going to work, which is the biggest challenge because, there is no dress rehearsal for this. This is reenactors coming from Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan, Carolinas in some cases. So we don't have a dress rehearsal. So we're trying to set up a battle plan with pyrotechnics and no dress rehearsal. So it does get a little tricky, and knock on wood, to this day, we have never had any injuries. The guys are very adamant about everything being safe and making sure no one gets hurt. Everyone needs to go to work back on Monday. So.
Yeah, I imagine you probably have a lot of these reenactors who come back year after year. Have you seen that as the case?
Most of our, we have not only the reenactors, we have a lot of reenactor vendors that are coming and selling their reproductions of, uniforms, helmets, guns, things like that. So all of those vendors, and I've been doing this event, this is probably my 21st year. So I've seen this grow from Civil War days to, it was my decision actually, or with my committee, to transition to World War II, and then now to transition again into Military History Weekend. So I've seen this event. We just try to keep it fresh and entertaining for the public each year, and adding some different features to it. But most of our reenactors, like I said, in the 20 years, are people that evolved with me, and they may have started at Civil War days and now they're reenacting for World War II, and now some of them are doing both eras at this point as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you also mentioned the pyrotechnics, because the video that you sent us for our virtual Park Stay at the Capitol featured I'm not sure which war it was, but there was some flashy pyrotechnics happening there. What do you think that adds to the reenactment? Do you feel like it's a unique aspect that you guys bring to the table?
That was something that we added just a few years ago. The challenge is, these are pyrotechnicians that are normally, blowing things off for like your 4th of July events and things of that nature. So it's kind of new to them and challenging. And that's kind of like they look at it as a challenge. It's different for them. And yet, like you said, there is no dress rehearsal. So yes, it definitely brings, as you can see in the video, that's the excitement and awe of that. So this will be the first year that we'll add pyrotechnics to all of the battles. Last year, we just did the Vietnam battle at the end, but this year we're going to space it out and kind of do a little pyro at all of the battles.
Excellent. Now, I got one more question for you. Last but not least, why do you think it's important to put on these reenactments? Like when someone walks away from this event at the end of it, what do you hope they're walking away with?
I love seeing, we get all ages. We get families that come out, and I'll give you a quick story. A few years ago, this kid was probably 6 years old, and the dad comes up to me and he goes, Dave, he goes, my son is just enthralled in the history of what you bring to the table every year. He goes, I had to transition his room to all military history. He's reading books on World War II. When I see this little kid, now he's probably about 11 or 12. He's actually a reenactor now at 12 years old. But this kid just got so involved with it, his family, and seeing the kids learn about history, not in a book, but actually, because these reenactors just love telling stories about, they research their character that they're portraying over the weekend. And, just seeing the kids get involved in history and talking to some of the veterans is pretty cool.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to just talk to me a little bit about this event. Like I mentioned, when I saw the video, I just knew I had to talk with you a little bit more about it because it was so fascinating. And I love when history and entertainment and being outdoors all kind of like commingle together. It's just an awesome experience. So thank you so much for just enlightening me a little bit more about Military History Weekend at the Lockport Township Park District.
Thank you, Wayne. We appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.